Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Bradley Thompson here, and we are back with another episode of the Living the Canadian Dream podcast. Today, we have on a very special guest. We go way back. We went to school together in Laurier, and he's here, Wayne Tran, Kang Tran, as I know him. And thank you so much for coming on. We're going to catch up today. You've been busy with life. I've been busy with life. Let's catch up. What's up with
Yeah,
you?
man. Everything's good. I mean, a lot has happened since, we left Laurier, and
Yeah,
no, man, that was like how many years ago
it's
now?
a
We
while.
we
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
long time. So a lot has happened and things
yeah.
have changed.
It's
Look at
crazy.
where we're at now, right?
I
So we're
know.
all we're all sort of eh, you know, in the same book, but different chapters.
Yeah.
This damn pandemic,
It,
right?
it's crazy. Yeah. How's the pandemic been for you lately? Have you been just getting
Yeah.
through it?
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, like the pandemic hasn't affected me,
Hmm.
fortunately, as much as it has for other people.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, like I still work full time. Luckily,
Absolutely.
I'm still able to, work from home. Um, so in regards to my finances and my income, like that hasn't taken a big hit.
For
I know
sure.
some people, hopped on CERB. Luckily, I never had to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And some people are still unemployed, so
Yeah.
it's really difficult for a lot of people. But lucky for me, I haven't had to deal with a lot of the unfortunate events that the
Absolutely.
pandemic has sort of wreaked havoc on a lot of people. Luckily, I haven't had to be able to do any of that or go through any of sort of the mishaps there. But otherwise, like the pandemic has been great for me in particular.
Hmm.
Granted, you know, aside from all the deaths and people getting ill
Yeah.
and
Yeah. For sure.
whatnot,
For sure.
just for me personally, it's been a great opportunity for me to reflect on, you know, sort of what I want to do, especially in the near future.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of action taking, um, and I find that the pandemic has really lit a fire under a lot of people's asses,
Yeah. Yeah.
and say like, hey, like either one, I'm unemployed, or two, I'm not happy with my work,
Hmm.
and I've been finding that a lot of people have been trying to pursue these things that they really enjoy, whether it's craft making,
Yeah.
painting, creative work. I see a lot of people trying entrepreneurship or,
For
or
sure.
or being a small business owner, and that to me is really inspiring. I really like that, right?
Yeah.
And if people can turn something like the pandemic um, into a positive in their life, then um, power to the people, right?
Yeah.
Like
For
good
sure.
for them. So I've fallen into that boat, into that
Hmm.
category. I know a lot of other people have as well.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, although the pandemic has been bad, I've somehow made the pandemic sort of fuel
Yeah.
something in me to take action into things that I think is important in my life.
For sure. No, and that's great. And I even feel that for me personally, like just the fact that you don't have to commute every day, that alone, you're just saving so much time and stress. And it's just like
Yeah.
it's a game changer. So yeah, I think like there's definitely some positives for certain people. Like I'm in a similar situation where not much has changed. Everything's just gone virtual now. So I'm very
Yeah.
lucky that way. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's a weird time too, just to stay home all the time. It's so weird. That's definitely getting kind of old. It'd be nice to go outside once in a while, obviously, and hang out with friends. But it's a situation right now. Hopefully things improve in 2021 though. So, hopefully that stuff does improve.
Mhm.
During the pandemic, what have you been busy with lately? I know you've been teaching and stuff like that. What's up?
Hey, that's a fantastic question. I no, well, look, like a lot has happened, and a lot of it has been keeping me quite busy.
Hmm.
Outside of the fact that I've been still working full time, like I do the 9 to 5 thing, and I
Hmm.
still do on the side um, my Taekwondo school.
Hmm.
But even outside of that, like I've been doing the social media thing basically part time. Like there was one post that I made on my personal story on my personal page where my brother-in-law, he works for Jump Plus, which is an Apple reseller, and
Okay.
he was showing me, how to look at time spent on the phone, time spent on particular apps and
For
whatnot.
sure.
And holy crap, like
It's
I
scary.
I legitimately spent, you know what, I forgot exactly the number, but it was an extra, like it was a crazy number
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I spent on Instagram. It was legitimately a part-time, like, hours.
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah.
think it was like 20 something or 30 something hours within 7 or 10 days
Yeah, yeah. It's a
on
lot of time.
Instagram. And I'm like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I I can see people are like, I don't think social media is good for people, and
Hmm.
it's distracting, it's not good for the mental, it's not good for the psyche. But here's my take on it.
Yeah,
If you could leverage social media, then that's, I think you're in a different position, right?
absolutely.
Like I'm using social media as a way to leverage, um my brand and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to make happen with my future goals. Um, and so if I want to do that, yeah, I'm gonna spend a whole bunch of hours on social media, right? Because that's what it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, and so, like, it was a ton of hours, right? So, that, doing the part-time, basically social media, teaching, um, 3 times a week,
Hmm.
in the evenings after work. But the bigger news is, like, my wife and I, we got pregnant,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Congrats. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram a
yeah.
while ago.
So
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think it was yesterday. Yesterday was officially 33 weeks.
Okay,
So
awesome.
the little guy is gonna be here in any week now, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Um, we're we've been doing a lot of, prep work for that, taking online parenting classes, which I have found quite helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
um, and yeah, just sort of getting everything prepared. A lot of what I found was difficult was understanding what you have to have
Yeah, yeah, for
as a
sure.
dad, and
Yeah,
what you have to get for the newborn. It's a
absolutely.
lot, right?
Yeah, I know for sure.
And like my wife and I bought a house, pre-construction.
Okay.
So um we're like, we're not house broke yet. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've
yeah.
heard of that term,
Of
right?
course. Yeah,
Like when
yeah,
you move into a brand new
yeah,
house, you become house broke, right?
yeah.
Like we haven't become house broke yet because we haven't moved in yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's like we had a kid like around the corner, and
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be kid broke, and we're gonna be house broke. We're just
Yeah.
gonna be like generally broke.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's how it is though. It's such a weird thing. You know what's weird though? I'm just gonna bring this up because it's just such a like a relevant topic. I have a cousin, and I'm actually the godfather of his kid, and they had their kid in, it was last year 2020, right when the pandemic was happening. So she has only experienced people like in public with masks on. It's such a weird
Mm.
thing. Isn't that a weird concept? Like that's her whole life, is just only seeing people with masks. Like she's never seen my face. It's such a
Yeah.
weird thing. I don't know. I just find that's going to be such a interesting thing when we like sort of like talk to the kids, like, years down the road, like maybe they'll remember, like obviously like maybe the ones that are walking around and stuff will remember that, but it's just such a weird concept, like this whole pandemic thing. I don't know.
Yeah, like, see, one of the things that, because I've always wanted to be a father,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
for
something
sure.
that I've sort of dreamed about.
Hmm.
I love the sort of the idea of having my own kid, because like I love kids in general. Like I love teaching
Absolutely.
kids. I love seeing them grow and develop and
Yeah,
mature and whatnot. But having one for myself, like that's like new layers,
absolutely.
of um, gratefulness and empowerment.
Hmm.
Um, and my wife, she's an ECE, right?
Yeah,
Early
okay,
childhood educator. So
for
she's a
sure.
teacher. She loves kids,
Yeah,
obviously. Um, and we've talked about this, right? How, he's coming into a world where people are wearing masks.
It's such a weird
And
thing. Yeah.
but it's not only that, it's like, because we're in the middle of we're in a pandemic, and everyone's sort of in lockdown and quarantine. How do you socialize
Yeah. Yeah.
the kid, right? Or the children? Because in our opinion, like, we believe socialization is a huge part
Of course.
of
Yeah.
children and kids development. um and so how do you like socialize them? Because
Yeah.
like screen to screen is, you get a little bit, but it's really not the same.
It's not the
It really
same.
isn't.
And even hugging like from an aunt or
Oh,
uncle, it's
it's so
such an
weird.
important thing. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just can't really do that right now. It's such
Yeah.
a weird thing.
And because my wife Jen, she's still working.
Yeah.
So she obviously has to wear a mask. The
For
kids
sure.
at the preschool don't.
Hmm.
um and we had this conversation about the mask
Yeah.
and learning social cues, especially with the face, because the smile, the facial
Absolutely.
expression makes a big difference. And she was telling me that even though they can't see the mouth, the
Mhm.
eyes still play a major role,
Yeah, for sure.
right? And the kids can still see expression and know what they're trying to communicate by just the eyes.
Yeah.
Right? And my wife would say, really, she would say stuff like, don't make me put my angry eyes on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the
That's
kids
good.
understand, which is a saving grace, but at the same time, it doesn't really substitute the face-to-face interaction, the
For
no
sure.
mask, the
Yeah.
physical contact interaction. So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah.
We're all just gonna try our best.
Yeah, for sure. I hope things, improve with the situation. But yeah, it's funny how like especially kids, they adapt right to the situation. So seeing those eye cues and the hand gestures, they're kind of used to it by now. It's just it's a weird thing it's a weird time that we're living in. It's
Mhm.
definitely weird. So how did you get into Taekwondo? Let's switch back to that. How did you get into Taekwondo?
Yeah, so I did Taekwondo when I was like really, really young. I
For sure.
started, God, I don't even know how old I was when I started, but I remember uh, when I was young, we would take the bus to school.
Okay.
Like I would, stand at the corner of the street. The school bus would come and pick us up, and it would take this particular route. And I don't remember if it was to Munden Park or Camilla, but either one, it took a very specific route that drove past this Taekwondo school.
Hmm.
Okay, and there was a signage on the street, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I kind of want to try that.
Yeah.
So I go home and I tell my mom and my dad. I said, hey, like I kind of want to try this. And so they took me to that exact same place that I saw the sign and whatnot. And Bradley, like I kid you not, it was like in today's age,
Yeah.
it would not fly.
Oh yeah,
Here,
for
I'll
sure.
tell I'll tell
Okay.
you I'll tell you what it looked like. Okay. It was a building. It was like one of those commercial buildings, but not the nice commercial building.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Think of like the rundown, like the red brick rundown residential apartments.
Okay.
No elevators, just stairs.
Oh
You
my
know what I
gosh.
mean? It was
Yep.
like one of those, but it looked like it was for like commercial property. Like
Yeah, yeah.
people, it had like offices in there. There was like a haircut, a hair salon or whatever.
For sure.
So the gym was in the basement
Oh my gosh.
of the apartment, right? So
Yeah.
you go in the door, you open the door, and you go downstairs, okay? And the only windows was like the windows. I'm in the basement of
Yeah, yeah.
the house here, right? The only windows were like
Like the
basement
small
windows,
ones. Yeah, yeah.
the small ones. So the only way you could like watch was from the outside looking down
Oh my
into
god.
the basement of this apartment, right? It was a small studio. You walk in, it was just mats right away, no spectating area, change room at the back, office in the back. That was
Yeah.
it. It was small. Like I've got a basement here, and I would say it's smaller than the basement, right?
Wow.
It was pretty ghetto, but
Yeah.
like you don't know any better.
No, for
So
sure.
that's sort of where I started. And in retrospect, right, like that was probably one of the best trainings
Yeah.
that I've received. Like that was probably the most legitimate guy that I've ever sort of trained with, because like, he he came from South Korea. Um, he was a part of the Korean army.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and he was a master and all that kind of stuff. And so you get like this fresh off the boat, you know, Korean guy coming over to
For
Canada trying
sure.
to make a living,
Wow.
and he's trying to, make do with what he has, finding the cheapest rent and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like those, in my opinion, those are like the best guys that you can
Of
get.
course.
Because
Yeah.
they're authentic,
Yeah. Yeah. He's
right?
all
They're
about the art form.
all
Nothing
about it,
else.
right?
Yeah.
Because like you hear, and I've talked about this on one of my Instagram lives. You see a lot of the martial arts now in the West, right? Like
Hmm.
here in America, Canada, and whatnot. Um, they've commercialized these martial arts so badly now
For sure.
that it's viewed as like a kid's martial art. You get the
Yeah.
colorful stuff. You got the red, the yellow, the blue, cute cartoon signs with the tiger animations, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, for sure.
but this guy, it was just like Taekwondo,
Yeah.
like his Taekwondo on the commercial sign or whatever.
For sure.
Nothing else. He
Oh
just
my
had
gosh.
mats, right? He just had
That's all
mats,
you need.
no painted walls. He got his uniform on. That was it,
Yeah.
right? And in my opinion, how much more authentic can you get than
That's
that,
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like if you have, he didn't have a mirror. He didn't even have mirrors, by the way, which is to many studios like a must have, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't even-
For
he
sure.
didn't have mirrors, so like how much more authentic can you get than that,
That's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
But anyways, I digress a little bit. So that's sort of where I started.
Cool.
um I left for Vietnam
Okay.
for about a month while I was still training with him.
Hmm.
Okay. I left for Vietnam for about a month. I come back. Tell me how super ghetto this is. Okay. I come back, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for class, I can't wait to get back to training. I show up, right, with my brother or my parents or
Yeah.
whatever. Gone.
Really?
He's gone.
Wow.
His studio was gone. I was gone for a month.
Just gone.
No notice, no
Just
nothing, gone.
that's
I
crazy.
no email, no letter, no saying, hey Wayne, like
Oh
I
my
I had to shut
gosh.
down for this reason, or I left back to Korea. Like I don't know if he got arrested. I don't know if he was, doing illegal. I don't know, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, what? Oh, what happened? I was sort of devastated. And so then, um, I think I forgot what had happened. I think I was trying to reach out to him or
Yeah.
something, or he was trying to reach out to me, because like I was one of his like best students.
Yeah.
Because like when I was first starting out, I got to like yellow belt or something like that, and I was already
Okay.
fighting his black belts. Like
Wow.
he saw a lot of potential in me, so he was trying to connect with me again. And
Hmm.
he's like, hey, like I had to close down the school, but I'm still training at one of my friends' school
Hmm.
over on this area. Let me know if you want to train. I'll pick you up. I'll train you for free.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
I was
Cool.
like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
That's cool. Yeah.
I tell my parents. They're like, cool, go for it, right?
Yeah.
Like, sounds great. And so we were doing that, and then one thing led to another. I forgot exactly what happened. I ended up training somewhere else uh, for for another couple of years, and then I left to go to school.
Hmm.
This was also when I started going to Gateway to do like all that dancing stuff,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went to Laurier, sort of stopped everything, came back, and then Freddie, who's the owner of Limitless,
Okay. Cool.
one of my best friends, he actually married me and Jen. He's a pastor
Oh wow.
as well. Yeah. So he was looking for a business partner, and he knew that I had Taekwondo background,
Hmm.
but in a different Taekwondo. So there's different federations. There's the Olympic style, which is the one that I trained in.
Okay.
And then there was the traditional style, which is called ITF,
Okay.
right? So he was doing ITF, but he knew I had Taekwondo background,
Hmm.
but it's a lot of transferable skills.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, look, I'm looking for a business partner. You and I both know we went to school for
For
business,
sure.
and I also had a Taekwondo background. So he's like, you're sort of the perfect guy, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, like that's a lot to chew, right? Because like it's either I graduate, go corporate right away, get
Yeah.
a solid full-time job, or I take the risk and run with Freddie with the gym for
Absolutely.
a little bit. Like that's quite a scary thought, and I had thought about it for like months, right? I was doing interviews with corporations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had many I had a bunch of interviews. I had a couple offers,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like my heart just told me let's just do it. You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be like a solid, legitimate business owner, and I thought this was a great opportunity to do it.
For
Although
sure.
I'm not starting it because he had started it already in
Yeah. Yeah.
2011. I was coming into an existing business already to help
Mm-hmm.
uh, grow it,
Yeah.
expand it, and build it. And so I did that. I was there for about 3 years,
For sure.
and then left. I left on my terms for a couple reasons, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it was personal reasons that had nothing to do with Freddie. Freddie's an awesome guy,
Yeah, for sure.
but I left on my own terms. I left for my own personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of it is, and I guess we can talk about it later, is
Mm-hmm.
sort of the work-life balance thing.
Yeah.
But I left to focus on my career.
Mm-hmm.
Got into my career now, um, and I've been at this company for like a year and a half.
Okay.
And then pandemic hit. I was like, okay, I kind of miss doing Taekwondo because I've been out of it for about a year or a year and a half or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, man, I sort of miss teaching. I miss being around. I miss just doing Taekwondo. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's something I know I'm good at. It's
For
something
sure.
I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I know it's something that at the end of the day, somebody will pay me to teach them.
Absolutely.
Right. And that combination itself, it's a recipe for the start
Mm-hmm.
of a business. Right.
Absolutely.
And so I have experience running a school already, doing
Mm-hmm.
Limitless with Freddie. So a lot of it is not new to me. It's just I'm starting it slow, and I'm intentional about that. I've
Yeah.
been doing very little marketing and customer acquisition in
Mm-hmm.
terms of growing my membership.
Absolutely.
But my focus is on my branding on my Instagram,
Which is great.
because
Yeah.
there's way more to what I want to do with Trans Taekwondo besides just teaching Taekwondo. Like I've been doing this. Sorry, I'm enrolled in what's called the Master Flexibility course,
Okay.
um, which is ran by his name is Dan. He's in the UK. He's taught university courses, all that kind of stuff. So he put together a course that's certified and everything.
Okay.
So that you can teach flexibility. So he teaches you everything about it, right?
Cool. Very
So
cool.
that's sort of what I want to get into. I want to
Mhm.
not just teach Taekwondo, but help Taekwondo athletes sort of unlock more than just their basic curriculum that they learn in the classes.
For sure.
I want to enhance their already amazing abilities or help
Mhm.
people get to where they want to be. So yeah, like I'm teaching the classes now. I'm building the brand, but I'm not really looking at building my membership right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because I don't really have the infrastructure to do that, because I found that a lot of people want in-person classes.
Yeah. For
That's
sure.
obviously not something I can make happen or accommodate. And even
Yeah.
though I have my own space here,
Yeah.
I don't have a separate entrance. So if I
Absolutely.
want people to come in, they have to go through the house, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not really ideal,
Yeah.
even
Especially.
in a non-COVID world, to be honest.
Yeah. For sure.
So that's why I want to put my focus on building my brand and what I can offer to other people outside of just
Absolutely.
Taekwondo classes.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
love
mean?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. And especially like right now, like you have such a great background in Taekwondo. It's just something that you can transition in. So it's great to see you doing that.
Mhm.
When did you start Taekwondo? How old were you? Because you said you were driving to school. Do you remember how old you were? You were obviously what, elementary school?
It was a
Yeah.
long time ago. I think I want to put 6.
Oh, so very, very young.
Yeah, something like it
Yeah,
was
that's
around that
crazy.
age.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was still taking the bus. Like I was taking the bus when I was in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't recall how far my memory jogs.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was really
But it
young.
was a very young age. Yeah, that's
Really
very
young.
cool.
Yeah.
When you were in university, were you still doing Taekwondo, or did you just stop? You just stepped away for a little bit
Yeah.
and just
No,
because you were dancing a lot, right? So you kind of moved into that.
yeah. No, I stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped for a good while because it wasn't something that I was passionate about anymore. Dancing was something that I was really passionate about.
Yeah.
So in 2008, I started dancing at Gateway, and
Yeah.
I think that's where we met, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah, probably from Sam and stuff. I know it
Yeah,
was, yeah, like from, all the Loyola guys, like Enrique
that's
and all
right.
them. Yeah, they always used to go to Gateway. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's where we met, and then
Yeah.
we sort of bumped into each other
At
at Laurier,
Laurier.
and we're like,
Yeah.
hey, like
And we
I didn't know you.
connected. Yeah.
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 So, but no, I started dancing to that like like quite religiously. It's like I go to school, go to Gates,
Yeah.
leave Gates, go to Gateway. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
And
Yeah.
just dance. And my parents didn't really like it, and understandably so.
For sure.
Um, but for somebody like me, I'm such a passionate person. When
Hmm.
I'm into something, I'm really into
You're
something.
full into it. Yeah.
I put everything into it.
Yeah.
Like that's me in my whole Instagram Taekwondo thing right now, right? Like I'm everything is sort of, a lot of my effort is going into it, right?
Absolutely.
So I did dance, and then when I went to university, I was still out of Taekwondo,
Hmm.
but I continued dancing throughout
Yeah.
university.
Yeah, which is very interesting because when I, like when we were like, because I did, we danced a lot in university. I didn't know you did taekwondo at all, and then after you're just like, oh, then you're like teaching, and it's like, oh, so it's very interesting to see people like do that, and it's like, oh, he actually knows how to like do martial arts. I was just like, oh
Yeah,
shit, who would have known?
yeah,
But it's very interesting because like thinking back on it now, it makes sense because you're like when you taught dance and stuff like that, you had a very martial arts like sort of way of teaching, if that makes any sense.
I
Like
get
you're
that a
very
lot.
focused on breaking down moves and like focusing on technique. So that made a lot of sense. Like it kind of came full circle. I'm just like, okay, this makes sense. Yeah. That's why
Yeah.
and then obviously your flips and stuff like that. It makes sense. You have a lot of flexibility and all that stuff
Yeah.
going on there.
Well, here's my take on that, right? I think a lot of the reasons why I was good at dance was because of my martial arts background.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
think
there's a lot of like skills that transfer. Yeah, for sure.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and vice versa, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of the reasons why I was good at martial arts was because of dance. And I've put a lot of thought into this as to why this is the case. Generally speaking, those
Hmm.
who are very good at martial arts or dance or something in those realms, those are who are like phenomenally good at it,
Yeah, for sure.
borderline like really talented at it, or natural at it. Those people have great body awareness,
Yeah, for sure.
like really good body awareness. People who have really good body awareness tend to do well in either martial arts or dance or both,
Absolutely. Yeah, no.
right? And it makes a lot of sense, right? And you can't, in my opinion, you can't really apply that to any sort of sport,
Hmm.
right? Because you can't say that, um, let's say, you know, any athlete can be really good at dance,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
um, but I find that being critically body aware
Yeah.
makes a huge difference in something like martial arts and dance, because you have to
Absolutely.
be body aware. And when I say body aware, I don't mean mind muscle connection, right?
Yeah,
When we
yeah,
work
for
out, you
sure.
hear that, right?
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. It's more so, if I want my body to move this way, I'll make it move that way,
Yeah.
like that exact way.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? And in a dynamic way, not just like, okay, I want to put my elbow like this.
Yeah.
It's more so like, if I swing my arm this way and have it curl and swing
Yeah.
and stop here and contract this muscle and relax here and relax there,
Yeah,
those are people who I find are highly body aware.
for sure.
Those people are really good at either dance or martial arts or
For
both.
sure.
People
Yeah.
who are good at both, I find, like, when I teach taekwondo, those who come in, um and like, you get the quick learners and the slow learners.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You can't have just great learners, right?
Absolutely.
um I find that those who are very quick to learn taekwondo and martial arts have
Hmm.
amazing body awareness. and they have no previous background in dance. It's just that they're just naturally
Just how it
aware
is.
of
Yeah,
how their body works, right? So
sure.
like for example, I'll say, okay, I need you to move your foot a little bit further, bend the front knee, make sure the back leg is straight, have your pinky on your belt and your hand in the middle. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They'll hear it, boom, they'll catch it and they'll perform it. They'll
Very good.
execute that right away. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, for
Those
sure.
I find I'm like, okay, like this kid, I could communicate with him on a much different level, right?
Absolutely.
Because he understands how his body works.
Yeah,
Those who are not so body aware, it just takes a little bit more practice, a little more experience
for
because
sure.
they just don't know how their body moves yet, and that's fine. Every kid
Absolutely.
is much different.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why you'll see um, a lot of martial artists they
Mhm.
get into breakdancing.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I've noticed over the years. It's just like there is definitely some sort of overlap going on there
Yeah,
for sure, and
yeah.
that's very interesting. I find that very interesting,
Hmm.
and it's very cool because I think breakdancing is going to be in the Olympics this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many of those breakdancers are past martial artists. That's what I want to know because I feel like there's probably a large group of them that are, which is very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but it's very cool because, as I said, like I didn't know you were into martial arts, but it makes sense because of your precision and you're very into breaking down moves and stuff like that. So it makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. So everything has been explained.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's awesome though. What are your plans for martial arts? Do you plan on like competing and stuff like that moving forward or
yeah,
focusing more on teaching?
yeah. That's a good question because you know it's quite it's a little bit up in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only circumstantial.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because I definitely still want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. I have my eyes set on winning world championships. I think I have the ability to do it.
Great.
I
Yeah.
think I have the work ethics to do it, and I think I have the talent to be able to get it done. Um, now, teaching, yes, I've told one of my students or the parents of one of my students.
Mm-hmm.
They had said to me, I hope you never stop teaching.
Yeah.
I hope you like I love what you do. I'm so grateful for what you do. I hope you never stop teaching.
Yeah.
And my immediate response to her was, if somebody wants to learn, I will always teach.
Yeah, for sure.
Always, right?
Yeah.
Because that's somebody who's hungry to learn something.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to come to me and they want to learn,
Mhm.
I will teach them.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in regards to teaching, yeah, I'll always teach.
I love it.
Now here's the thing. I've put some thought into, like, do I want my own physical location?
Yeah,
Do I want, like, how do I want that to look like?
absolutely.
That's a bit of a trickier question, to be honest,
Hmm.
because um it because of the pandemic, it's a little bit weird, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
for
it's
sure.
hard. But I know that there is a demand um for for my teaching.
Yeah.
I know that people do want to learn from me. Um but it's so difficult because my my long-term goal
Hmm.
my long-term goal is a semi-detached home of
Hmm.
some sort, or a detached home or whatever, with a basement like this, because this is not my house.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is my mother-in-law's house.
for
I
sure.
live here, and suit up the basement as my
Yeah,
gym.
which is
I'll
great. Yeah,
operate out of that. That's
cool.
what my long-term goal is. I
Hmm.
want to operate out of my own house.
Yeah,
I don't really want my own place unless it turns into something huge.
yeah,
But
for sure.
even that's not something that I want right now. It
Yeah,
might
yeah,
turn into that, but that's not something that I really want.
for sure.
um, so if I could have my own place with my own basement, and I could suit up the basement in my own way and have my gym there, I'll run
Yeah,
the classes that way. Um, and how I told you about my pre-construction home before.
yeah.
That pre-construction home, it's what's called a condo townhouse.
Okay.
so it doesn't have a basement,
Oh, okay.
right? So and there's not really a lot of space for me to be able to teach classes
For sure.
if I was online either. Like I'd have to set up in the living room if that
Mhm.
was the case. Like there's no other rooms
Yeah.
that I could set up. So that's sort of my dilemma. I was considering a short-term lease
Mhm.
for a physical location, but like it's
Yeah, based on the pandemic and stuff, it's all up in the air too, right?
yeah, like
But
that's if I were to do a short-term lease, it would have to be in about like I would say a year and a half or 2 years or whatever.
for sure.
And I'm sure the pandemic would ease off by then.
Yeah.
Um, but even still, like I just don't know if that's something I want to do or if
Yeah.
I want to wait it out until like that would be like 6 7 years
Yeah, for
from
sure.
now if for me to get like a place with a basement.
Yeah.
Um, but to be honest, like as of right now, I'm just gonna go with the flow,
Yeah, for sure.
see how it goes. Um, I want to take off with the online coaching,
Mhm.
the online flexibility and stuff like that, because there's a lot of people who um, I find are like they want specifically like that flexibility training.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
martial artists all over the world, they're looking for that. So
Yeah. Which makes sense though, because it's such a crucial part in martial arts, just in
yeah,
general, not even just Taekwondo, right?
yeah,
Just in general.
highly neglected,
Yeah, no,
highly neglected.
for sure. And, I can see why that's such a high demand, is flexibility, which makes sense. When it comes to like new martial artists, just people trying to start a new skill, trying to learn something new, what would you recommend to them? What would be the best tip for them to sort of keep in mind when they're just on their journey of learning something new, whether it's like martial arts or an art form in general?
Yeah, find a good resource, whether that's
For
a
sure.
coach, a good YouTube series, um, a book of some sort, whatever works best for them,
Hmm.
that they find effective for them to learn is the best way. And I think finding a good coach is the key to it. I think what was it? Um, uh, Tim Ferriss.
Hmm.
I think you and I are
The
both huge
legend.
fans of Tim. Yeah, the
I
legend,
love him.
Mr. Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
right? He says one of the books I read from him was I think it was 4 Hour Chef,
Okay.
and he says um, material over method.
Hmm.
In terms of learning, material is better than method of
Hmm.
learning, right? He was saying that when he was in um, Japan, yeah, it was Japan. He did a like a foreign exchange program there, and he was enrolled in this school, and he didn't realize that everything was taught in Japanese.
Hmm.
Like he thought he was going to learn Japanese, um, but everything was taught in Japanese, and so he had to take certain exams, and he was like I don't know any Japanese, I don't know any characters, I don't know how to speak it, write it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he I think he was in a library where he found a sheet of paper that
Hmm.
basically laid out all of the characters of the Japanese language that he has a poster of now that's up in his bedroom or something.
Hmm.
And he says that like that piece of paper alone allowed him to learn Japanese and to pass
Crazy, eh?
his
Wow.
exams, right? And so like when it comes to, let's say, studying, right? When it comes to, let's say, method, a
Hmm.
method could be like studying for 4 6 hours a night.
Yeah,
Like that's a method of studying, right? Writing down your notes all the time, that's a
for sure.
method of studying, right? You could do that, but if you have terrible material to study off of,
Yeah.
it won't matter how hard you study.
Yeah.
If it's me and you, right, and I'm doing the written method and I'm rereading the newspaper to learn a different language, or I'm watching a Spanish movie, we're both trying to learn Spanish, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching Spanish movie, I'm reading Spanish books, trying to learn linguistics and sentence structure and all that kind of stuff. and I do that and I do that and I do that. And let's say you find some sort of resource, a one pager that gets you to understand how to learn Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is going to come out of this better, right?
For
Like you
sure.
would.
Yeah, yeah,
The material always is better than the method, right?
absolutely.
So in my opinion, if you could find a good resource, whether it's a really good coach, or like I said, a good YouTube series,
Yep.
these are all great ways to learn, right? And I find that, in my opinion, I think social media like YouTube, um, like Instagram, some
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is a little bit fluffy.
Yeah,
'Cause there's sort of a lot of noise on on um, on Instagram, but you could learn a lot, and it's cost effective.
for sure.
That's what I find is the more important thing, because a lot of people, when they're starting out something, um, a lot of people don't have the budget to blow on a mentor or a coach. Some
Absolutely.
people can, which is great, right?
Yeah,
Not everybody can, and so I find resources like YouTube are awesome, right?
absolutely.
To learn a new skill.
No, I totally agree. And, it's also very important, just based on you saying material, you know, take a look at who you're learning from. There's a lot of people out there that don't have your best interests. Like the amount of ads I get on a daily basis on YouTube for like webinars and stuff like that to become, build my drop shipping business. And, they're just BS, right? Like it's just half of these guys are BS because they're making their money from selling these courses, right? They're not like legit entrepreneurs. They're just making money from selling courses. So you got to be very careful with who you're getting courses from, and who you're taking that information from. So that's very important as well.
Yeah.
That's like super important. One thing that I would recommend, if you haven't tried it yet, because I know you're doing really well on Instagram, TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok, you're gonna hate me, and a lot of people do. But TikTok, I think, especially for martial arts, I'm obviously not in the martial arts stream because I probably don't get a lot of it. But I think because it's so visual and you have a lot of, obviously quality content, I think it could do well on TikTok.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm trying it, but I'm trying to figure out how it works.
For sure, yeah,
I think I've got Instagram down.
yeah,
I understand I understand Instagram really well. TikTok I don't understand quite yet.
for sure, yeah.
So I'm trying to I've got my account up.
It's good.
I've got a couple stuff on it. It's, in my opinion, it's so much fun.
Oh, I love
It's
it.
really fun.
That's my favorite platform. Yeah,
I've seen some of the stuff that you do. I'm like, dude, this is genius. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny. It's so engaging.
yeah, it's enjoyable.
I really want to get into it. I really do. It is a goal of mine. I have my account, like I said. I have a few stuff on it already. But I'm having a little bit of difficulty figuring out how people engage on TikTok.
Absolutely.
Because it is different than Instagram.
It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, even the way that the algorithm works on the For You page is totally different, but it's definitely worth it to try to see if you can get in there, because I think there's a big opportunity for
I think so too.
businesses. Yeah. Like
I'm on the same page, man.
yeah, like even for like my bike business. So we started a bike company a few months ago. And we just started using TikTok and stuff, and some videos have blown up and they're doing really well. So it's very interesting to see like engagement and stuff, because especially for like the bike community, there's a lot of like hardcore, obviously cyclists, whether it's mountain biking or road biking. And, a lot of them are on TikTok. It's such a visual platform, right? So it's very interesting. Definitely check it out.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how have you found, because I know you're on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Not so much Facebook. I'm not so much on Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
But how have you found adapting to like these different social medias with Relentless?
Yeah. So like, I think especially like just as a business, like for Relentless, it's, different types of content on different things. So like, for Relentless, it's more like, obviously images and stuff like that, but sometimes we post like the TikToks there. But I think TikTok is definitely not only just educational, but it has to be fun and like sort of like even like things like using like the trending audio, like that just makes it a lot more adaptable to that platform, right? Like just having, if you're doing like say a class or whatever, it's showing a technique, I think just having the trending audio in the background, like people relate to that stuff. It's very weird. It's a very weird platform.
I've fallen into that too. Like I'm on TikTok and I'm like, I'm like, oh, I hear this trending track. Like
You hear it
this
like
must be
8 times in a row.
huge.
Yeah.
And then it's like nothing.
Yeah.
I saw this one girl. She went viral because she sat in her bed, and the caption said, it said, um, it, it said something on the lines of like, if I use this viral song, um, sorry, if I use this song, I will go viral. And
Yeah.
she sat on the bed and did nothing.
It's crazy.
And she went viral. I'm
It's
like,
such a crazy platform.
what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it's definitely something worth checking out.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
very interesting. Even there's like, but it's like an audio based platform. I don't know if you've been on Clubhouse yet. That's like
I've
a
heard
new
of it.
thing. Yeah, it's like a new thing. Do you have an iPhone?
I do.
I'll send you an invite. It's like
Sure.
invite only. You can check it out. It's like basically it's like an audio based platform, so people can hop into rooms and they're like, there's probably like a Taekwondo room or like a martial arts room.
Oh,
But there's like a bunch of different rooms. I saw one the other day with like, so like Tim Dillon. He's like a professional comedian, so he was like doing like basically a guest panel with some people, and then you can sort of join panels. So like I was on a panel the other day with like some Canadian athletes and stuff like that, and you just go and talk, and it's just all audio. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
I'll send you an invite.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah,
Right now it's just invite only though. So like you
Why
only,
is that? That's
just because they're trying to scale and sort of grow slowly, because I think it's gonna be a really big thing. So they only have like, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, they have, I want to say 5 million people on it, which is still very small, but it's because everybody gets 2 invites. So that's why they're keeping it
really?
small. Yeah.
So I get one of yours.
Yeah, I'll give you one. Yeah. I'll give you one. I'm very diligent with my invites.
Very good. Very good. You've chosen wisely.
Yeah. So I'll send you an invite. But yeah, it's a very interesting platform. I don't know. I always like to try the different platforms and see what I prefer.
Yeah.
Different types of content, and I think that's good for just anybody to just give it a go. So
Yeah, cool, man. I'll take a look. Yeah, absolutely.
it's worth it. In terms of sort of let's talk about your habits. Do you have any like habits that you have on a daily basis that sort of help you perform or help you sort of get your sort of goals accomplished?
Is this in regards to like my Taekwondo training, or just
Could be
just
anything.
in
Like,
general?
is there anything that you do on a regular basis with your daily routine that just sort of helps you achieve whatever you need to achieve?
My favorite one, actually, my only consistent one that I do are my showers.
Okay.
Those are my big ones. Actually, sorry, not my big one. That's perhaps my only consistent one.
Mhm.
I consider myself sort of a go with the flow, but adaptable
Yeah.
mentality. But I don't disregard consistent, what's it called, like behavior building,
Mhm.
behavior and habit building, right?
Absolutely.
I don't disregard that. It's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
I'm a go with the flow but adapt type of person, right? So if at one point I don't necessarily feel like doing a particular thing, I'll look for something else to be productive in.
Yeah. For sure.
Right? So let's say, for example, let's say this course that I'm in, the flexibility course. Let's say I don't want to study right now. I'll work on content for my Instagram. If I don't want to work on content for my Instagram, let's say I'll go downstairs and train. If I don't want to train, okay, maybe I'll work on my studies. But the one thing that is consistent for me is the showers, and that's hot and cold showers.
Okay.
I do both, not twice a day. I do hot and cold showers, but the reason why it's important for me is because I do a lot of reflecting in the shower. That's when I do a lot of my reflecting. And for me, as you probably know, like reflecting is a huge part of how I develop, how I make decisions, how I get in tune with my creative side.
Yep.
I like sitting in silence, sort of sometimes not doing anything or like fidgeting with something.
Yeah.
Right. That's when a lot of my creative work will happen. Like sometimes I'll just sit in front of my computer and let's say I'm looking at something and I'm just sitting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my creative work will happen at that point.
Okay.
But a lot reflecting is a huge part of my day to day that helps me perform at a different level. Even for training.
Mm-hmm.
I know you were asking about like how do I, optimize on my training or some of my day to day stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes and ties back to how I reflect on it,
Okay.
right? So I'm huge on recording myself during training.
Okay.
That way I can look at it and reflect and see, okay, that didn't look so good. That didn't look right. I know that felt strong, but it didn't look strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even when I'm teaching, sometimes I'll record myself teaching so I could review. Not
Mm-hmm.
all of it because I don't have, you don't have the time for that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have time to just sit for another 45 minutes watching
sure.
yourself teach a class you just taught.
Yeah.
But I'll sort of scrub through it and I'll just sort of take samples
Mm-hmm.
and just review and be like, okay, I don't like the way I approach that. Or if I'm teaching and I realize, I sort of make a mental note and be like, okay, I just said something that I'm not sure connected the right way, or I'm not sure if I said it the right way.
Okay.
I'll look for that
Yeah.
and I'll review it. And I'll be like, okay, I should have said it this way. I should have done it this way instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of my reflecting happens in the shower, and that's my shower is the trigger
Mm-hmm.
for my reflecting period.
Which
The other
makes sense,
times, the other times it's sometimes a little bit more, in a way, deliberate.
Yep.
Where I really get into thought and I'll sit there and I'll just reflect.
Yeah.
And what's odd is I think I'm not sure if it'll be good for me or not. I do want to try it, but when I reflect, I don't write.
Okay.
I just mentally reflect, and I think writing may help me, but it's not something I felt like I need to do. But
Yeah.
many people have told me that it, like journaling,
Yeah.
right? Journaling might be really good for me. It's something I've tried, but it never stuck with.
with it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, but just even having those, those periods of thinking throughout the day, I think those are important, whether it's you just reflecting or you just trying to solve a problem or try to be creative. Like, yeah, I'm very similar in that way. Like, showering and stuff like that. You always have those deep thoughts. You have those crazy thoughts, like, maybe not even on, maybe not even on the topic that you're trying to think about, whether it's like martial arts or something. Maybe it's just a totally unrelated topic, but I think those thoughts are very important. For me, I think a lot on the treadmill, like especially those dreadful treadmill sessions that I do. The minute you get into like 2 hours on the treadmill, you just start thinking, even though you may have, I do this thing called Zwift. It's like basically this virtual world. I don't know if you've this is a totally different thing from you. This is so like cycling and running. They have this thing called Zwift. It's like a video game kind of. So like you can do races and stuff, and basically you wear like a shoe pod or your smart trainer connects to your phone. So that will be basically a virtual game, and it's like a virtual world. So like you'll see your avatar cycling and stuff like that. Yeah. So like there's only so much you can watch for 2 hours while you're doing that, right? So like you kind of just start to wander and think. So I think a lot on the treadmill, especially for my long runs and stuff like that. But
I could see that when I used to run when my knee wasn't so bad, which I do sort of want to get it back into running. But yeah, like it's so easy to get into that state.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a little bit it's mundane.
Yeah. It's just repetitive. Just
right.
Yeah.
Have you heard of oh God, what is his name? Jim Quick.
Jim Quick. Yeah. The brain guy. Yeah. For sure.
He wrote the book like Limitless or something like Limitless Brain or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've heard of him.
Yes.
Have you listened to some of his podcasts or where he guest spoke on some?
Yes, I used to. And he's actually on I actually listened to him the other day. He goes on Clubhouse a lot. So you'll actually see him on Clubhouse. But what I used to read a lot from him was he used to have a blog called Superhero You. It's actually not even in existence anymore, but it used to be like a lot of like, habit replacement tips, how to build a healthy lifestyle, like just a lot of like great performance optimization tips. It's very interesting. So Yeah, he's great.
I'm huge on these types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely believe that people like uh Jim Quick, Tim Bilyeu,
Mm-hmm.
um uh Tim Ferriss to a certain extent
Yeah.
actually. Uh like old Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
not so much new Tim Ferriss in my
Yeah.
opinion. But these guys, I genuinely believe like they're out there to, oh, and Gary Vee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
Vaynerchuk.
sure.
I genuinely believe these people are out there to really help people. Because
Absolutely.
you know how, like, we were talking about the dropship ads and all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Those people, those people, in my opinion, they're not genuine people who want to help other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
For sure.
I genuinely believe people like Jim Quick, is it Tim Tom? Tim
Tim,
uh,
which one?
Bilyeu,
I don't actually know
Bilyeu.
him. No,
No?
I know.
Okay, I'll send you a
Yeah.
link. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen him.
Probably. Yeah.
But anyways, uh, yeah, these guys, like, I think they're genuinely out there to help people. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm so for like supporting these types of people,
Yeah.
right?
For
So like
sure.
listening to uh uh like his podcast and whatnot. He's really good. But the reason why I bring him up is because, he was talking about, you said yourself, he's sort of that brain guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? That psychology
Yeah.
brain guy. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard him talk about the beta, theta, alpha waves
No,
and the
I
states.
haven't heard of that. No.
Okay, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly which state corresponds to what sort of behavior and activity and feeling, but
Mm-hmm.
um, the reason why a lot of people come up with the greatest ideas either in their showers or in their sleep is because they actually fall into a certain state. I
Okay.
think I think it's theta,
Okay.
right? Where you fall into a particular state where there are certain chemical reactions that happen in your brain
For sure.
that trigger these like aha moments.
Okay.
That's why, have you ever like woken up from a dream or woken up in general and be like I just thought of something really genius, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah. For
I
sure.
you had a dream where it's like that was so smart. Like I've had that. I've had two or three really outstanding ones that really made a difference in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
life. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
And that uh, dictated a lot of my decisions.
Yeah.
And when you're in the shower, you go into that same similar state, and
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people do reflecting while they're in that state. And I think he also said like when you're taking a shit, like when you're
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
toilet,
For sure.
people have like the most insane thoughts and ideas
That's very
and
interesting.
right, because you sort of fall into that beta, alpha, or theta state.
Yeah.
I forgot which one it was, but I'll see if I can find it,
Yeah.
and I'll link it to you. But
Yeah.
what
But
was
I love Jim Quick. He's great. He's a smart guy. And one of the reasons I got into him, like I actually got into him in university, was because he actually had like so he had a very bad concussion when he was young, and I also had like a very like bad concussion when I was
Yeah,
playing hockey. So like I kind of like sort of read a lot of his stuff because of that, because he sort of was able to optimize his brain and mind, and I think that's very important, especially with people that have had injuries or come back from injuries. It's good stuff to know and
yeah.
recognize.
I remember you were telling me about
Yeah.
like your experiences with your concussions. Yeah,
Yeah. In high school, yeah, I got a really bad one. So, I'm very fortunate and very lucky, that I've been able to recover.
yeah,
Some people don't have that opportunity. So, but
yeah. Well, I know Jim was telling me that like it affected his learning,
for
and I
sure.
know
Yeah.
that's highly relatable for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially for like dance classes. Like that was always something that I struggled with was, the moves and stuff because in dance classes, as you know, like you learn a sequence and everybody catches on, but always for me it was I would have to practice it. That's like the kind of way that I've have to do it, and
Mhm.
it's just obviously probably side effects from the concussion for sure, but
Yeah,
that's just how it was. So
yeah,
yeah, it's just very interesting how you have to learn how to adapt, and he's obviously been able to adapt, and that's kind of why I really got into his content, especially during university. So yeah, no, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. We live in a crazy time. But yeah, we're getting through it though.
Yeah.
So let's keep moving forward. I have a few more questions for you. One of them is before I actually move on to that, there's an interesting book you should read if you're really interested into like daily routines. There's one called Daily Rituals. And going to like where you're talking about, like, you just go into the shower and you have these random thoughts and you have these deep, lessons or deep thoughts, and you start pondering these crazy things. There's a book called Daily Rituals, which sort of highlights famous artists and stuff throughout history. And some of them have the craziest rituals of all time, but they do these things on a regular basis, and it's sort of how they become creative and how they sort of get the creative juices flowing, whether it's them having a whiskey at 8 a.m. in the morning with a cigar, or like just doing something, going for a walk. And that's the way that they think. It's just very interesting. You should definitely check it out. It's a good book. Yeah.
Who's this by?
I forget who it's by, but it's called Daily Rituals. It's just like a highlight of a bunch of artists. It's a very good book, just to see what Hemingway used to do. It's just, some of these people had the most destructive habits, but some of them, that's the reason they did it, was for the creativity to get those books produced and stuff. It's a very interesting thing.
Daily Rituals, How Artists Work.
Yeah.
Mason Curry.
Yes. Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah. Okay. It's a very interesting book. Yeah. So one of the questions I want to ask you was, in terms of your training, how often do you train per week? And then what does like a training session look like?
I try to train every day.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people say, hey, that's not good. You need rest days, right? Here and there, I'll take a rest day, right?
For sure.
But I deliberately try to train every day.
Okay.
And this is a very interesting topic. And I think you may be able to relate to a certain extent, because I know your training is a little bit different, because yours is more endurance based.
Yeah.
But I try to train every day. Now, in terms of my training session, it'll really depend. And here's the great thing about how I've set up my training.
Okay.
When I come down here to train, I'd say maybe 7 out of 10 times, it's what I want to do that day.
Okay, cool.
Right?
That's good.
It's not like I have a set training plan.
Yeah.
For example, like I have it on a spreadsheet. Let me just pull it up real quick. But like I have something set, but it's not concrete.
Yeah, it's not set in stone, for sure.
It's not set in stone. Let me just open this real quick.
Yeah, and I think that's I think a lot of people are like that. They may have a training plan, but then they have some workouts that they can sort of switch around. And I think that's important to do, especially if, depending on how you feel that day.
Yeah.
For motivation too.
That's the big thing, right? I'm a huge proponent of training how you want.
Yeah.
Because if you're forcing yourself to train in a way that you're not enjoying it, then it becomes work.
For sure.
You're doing it, you're sort of just dragging your feet through it. You don't really want to put in the work. It takes extra self-discipline to be able to do it, right? Training still requires a lot of self-discipline, right? But if you add extra resistance to something that's already difficult, you're making your life harder than it really has to be.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, I'm not saying that, one is better than the other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, training is still, being in a mental state.
For sure.
And if you could take care of your mental state as much as possible, you can train for life.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So I have my spreadsheet here, and it's super simple for now, at least, right? Because I eventually wanted to break it down a little bit more, but like I've got like Monday to Sunday yoga, right? On the weekdays, I do it in the morning, yoga in the morning. On weekends, I do yoga at night, right, to cool down. So on the weekdays, I use yoga as a way to sort of wake up, make my body feel really great.
For sure.
On weekends, I use it as a way to cool down,
Perfect. Yeah, yeah.
right?
How
For
long
the
is a
day,
yoga
wind
session
down.
for you?
15 minutes,
15
super
minutes?
short,
Perfect. Yeah.
15 minutes, right? Um, and then I've got like, let's say here on Monday, I've set it up morning and evening. I
Mhm.
try to train twice a day.
Great.
But morning, I've got yoga and weights.
Okay.
Evening, taekwondo and core.
Great.
That's it, right?
Nice.
So I use that as a base. So I'll come down here, I'll do my yoga, and then whatever I feel like I want to work out that day, I'll
Mhm.
pump weights based on what I want to do. So if I want to do legs, I'll do some squats, and I'll
Great.
do X, Y, and Z based on legs because I just feel like it.
Yeah, yeah, for
If I
sure.
want to do chest, if I want to do arms, shoulders, then I'll do that, right?
Great.
But I don't have like Monday, February 15th, weights, shoulder,
Yeah, yeah,
bicep, this sets, this reps, et cetera, et cetera.
for sure.
And I know you're asking how long I train for, how long the
Mhm.
sessions are. I try to stay in it for about at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that helps me stay in training for longer is my music.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's what I
The
was gonna
mu-
ask you in a second.
oh my
Do
gosh,
you listen to
the
music
music.
when you trade?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
I especially when it's like really loud.
Yeah,
I play some really like hype music. Like I've got a training playlist, like a
sure.
public training playlist that my followers on Instagram help me build,
Great.
which is
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah, like I've got like 10 plus hours
Yeah, yeah.
from music from people from all over the world, and I have music in different languages,
Love it. That's
and
great.
like I've got. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there's like 27 likes on the playlist. So
Yeah, yeah.
and I see people tagging me on my Instagram being like, I freaking love this playlist. I
That's
listen to it
great.
all the time when I train. But that's what keeps me in here, right?
For sure.
So if I still have the music going, and let's say like a new track plays,
Yeah.
and it's like hype, right? Like that'll get me going, and I'm like, okay,
That's the best. When you find a new song when you're working out, there's nothing
yeah.
better than that.
And it's like it makes me want to put on an extra plate and try to crank out like heavy reps.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the type of training that I really want to get into.
Yeah.
I know it's not specific, but as of right now, I'm not looking for very specific training,
Yeah, yeah.
right? The scientific term for it is functional,
For sure.
right? Where functional literally means of like for a specific activity or behavior.
Yeah, yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Like I learned that in the flexibility course. And so like my training is not functional right now.
You're
Sorry,
building
it's
that
not
base. You're
specific.
building that foundation for sure.
Yeah. So that like when I start like legitimately training for world championship, then my training becomes functional. I might be
Absolutely.
doing less weights. I might be doing or lower weights, more
Absolutely.
reps, right? But right now, I just want to train to enjoy it.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
And then in the evening, like I'll take a Taekwondo class, and then I'll work on my core.
For sure.
Right? So what I wanted to get at was that the reason why I train or I try to train every day is because in the long run, if you add up all the hours,
Mhm.
I would have put in more training hours than somebody who trained, let's say, every other day, but rest in between,
Yep.
right? And even though the reason why they rest is because they went hard,
Yep.
because
For
they
sure.
need their body to recover. And here's what the Russians do this the best,
Mhm.
especially the martial artists, the mixed martial artists and whatnot. When they train light.
Yeah.
They deliberately don't beat their bodies up so that they can add more hours
For sure.
in the long run, right?
Yep.
And you as an athlete, right, that the more hours you put in, it's compounding,
It's everything.
right?
Yeah.
The effects of training, it's compounding. The
Yeah.
more training you put in, the more hours you put in, the better off you're going to be long term.
Yeah.
And so they stress, if you train light, that's
Mhm.
relative, obviously, right? If you train light, you can put in more hours. If you put in more hours, you've effectively put in more training than somebody who's rested every other day.
For sure. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. People will say I have to beat up my body Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Mhm.
right? In order for my training to be effective. Who says that has to be true,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
right? Now, you can train light every single day, but then somebody will say, Wait, but the reason why I beat my body up every day is so that it'll replicate what it's like in the ring, on the
Yeah.
mat, when I'm fighting. Sure, yeah, that's a valid point,
Yeah.
right? But what the Russians do is that they'll train light consistently, but every once in a while they'll replicate heavy training,
For sure.
because heavy intense training, they do that to replicate what it's like at a tournament when they actually need to put the pedal to the metal,
Yeah. For sure.
right? But you don't need to do it every time. You don't
No,
need
for
to
sure.
go hard every single time.
And you can't maintain that if you're just going hard every single session. Like, you got to have some easy sessions. It's just unsustainable. Like, it's just not
Absolutely.
possible. Yeah.
It's unsustainable for the body. It's
Yeah.
unsustainable for the mind.
For
It's
sure.
unsustainable for the spirit,
For
right?
sure.
It's really tough. Like my in the course that I'm in the flexibility course, they you know we do group support calls all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about like pain, right?
Yeah.
Pain is your body's way of telling you to stop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No.
Right? And here's what's mind-boggling. Especially in these types of Eastern martial arts like karate,
Mm-hmm.
taekwondo, these old school the traditional martial arts, they pride themselves on, being able to fight through pain. It's a
Mm-hmm.
mental thing, it's a mental thing,
Yeah.
right? But it's not so much a mental thing when you've got like a muscle tear.
Yeah.
You can't, that's your body's way of telling you like you gotta let it rest.
Yeah.
The analogy of the Band-Aid analogy, right? Like when you've got like a muscle tear, you can't just keep ripping the Band-Aid off.
No, for
You
sure.
gotta let it rest, you gotta
Yeah.
let it heal. But that's why I set up my training that way, because it allows me to put in more hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's me versus somebody else, like you damn well bet I'm gonna put in way more hours than that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And the only way I'm gonna do that is if I can sustain my training throughout.
For sure.
Every once in a while, I'll do the intense training to simulate, getting the heart rate at a point where it simulates fighting.
Absolutely.
But that's how I set up my training, and I try to stay in for about 30 minutes a session, particularly for like the weights or the Taekwondo training, the core and the yoga. Like that's like quick training
For sure.
that I just put in. But otherwise, like I try to make my training sustainable.
Yeah.
Because if your training is not enjoyable, you're gonna fall off and not end up training anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So
For sure.
that's how I've set up my training.
No, and I totally agree with that. It makes a lot of sense. And that's the only way you can do it for a long time too, right? Is if you're, not overdoing it all the time. You got to listen to your body. That's essential. I think a lot of people don't listen to their bodies enough and they just overdo it. Like if you need to take a rest day, take a rest day. Like that's how it
Absolutely.
is. I'm a little bit different. I usually try to take an active rest day, once a week, just because obviously our sports are totally different things, especially for the knees and stuff like that. The minute you're running and biking a lot, it's just, it takes a toll on the body. So, but my active rest day is still trying to be active, right? Whether it's going for a hike or going for a walk. But I love how you do things like yoga and stuff, because not only for obviously directly related to your sport, it's also important for recovery, right? Stretching is crucial. And I think a lot of people, especially when they're starting off, they don't do that stuff, and that stuff could prevent injuries, right? Like the more flexible you are, just stretching out your body is just so crucial for preventing injuries. And, I think that's great to see. And I think yoga especially is just underrated. It's just great.
It is highly underrated, and for whatever reason, I'm not so much into the yoga scene. But apparently, yoga's been getting a bad rep lately. I don't know why. I don't know the story behind it, but it's apparently been getting a bad rep lately. But a lot of people who are into the like scientific literature of flexibility and whatnot, you have science to back up the benefits of yoga.
Oh, for sure.
It's undeniable. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's crucial for you. And I think that's, especially for the long term, like that's the stuff that sets people apart.
Yeah.
And,
Sorry, I actually wanted to say one thing before we
Yeah.
hop into another topic. You're familiar with George St. Pierre
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
from Quebec or
GSP.
Montreal or
Yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
The man.
So um, he's into like this light training type of regimen.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you ask any of his training partners, if he goes to a gym or he's a guest at a gym, you go to any of these training sessions, talk to any of his training partners, and you know he's well established.
Yep.
He's got many belts. He's world champion.
He's the
He's
man.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? How can you tell me how is it possible that anybody you ask wants to train, wants to, they call it roll in
Yeah.
BJJ, wants to roll with George GSP?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Somebody who's like feared on the mats.
Yeah.
Aren't you afraid that he's gonna like kick your ass?
Yeah.
Aren't you afraid that he might like knock you out or hurt you?
For sure.
The reason why people love training with George St. Pierre is because he's gentle on his partners.
Yeah.
If he hurts all his training partners, who does he have left to train with?
Yeah. No, for
Right?
sure.
Or
Absolutely.
if he's rolling hard with one of his training partners, let's say for whatever reason his training partner hurts him,
Mm-hmm.
what happens to his training? He has to stop for, let's say, a week.
No, for sure.
Right? This is one of the reasons why he's so good.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to train with him. Everybody wants to roll with him because of how he trains.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not overdoing it. And
Yeah.
even I watch a lot of UFC MMA. It's just something that I enjoy. Like even Max Holloway. Do you know who Max Holloway is? Blessed MMA. His last fight, he didn't even spar at all leading up to the fight. He just did light training, just focused on that, and he absolutely destroyed the guy that he was fighting. So it's just very interesting to see how different people sort of adapt to new training methods, even if they're later in their career, just because based on longevity, it's going to save them and save their body.
That's right.
You're not getting these injuries that a lot of these other fighters and MMA fighters will get. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah. With your sport in particular, it's a little bit different because it's endurance based,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about pushing a time limit.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're trying to beat time.
Yep, for sure.
That's what you're competing against. You're not really competing against other people, right? You're legitimately competing against time.
For sure.
So is everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And so light training to a certain extent doesn't apply to your training because if you're always light training, your body adapts to light training. Your body is a highly adaptable machine.
Exactly.
And if you're always, let's say running at a particular pace, your body's only going to get used to that particular pace.
Yeah.
But in terms of martial art, it's about learning how to maneuver certain things. It's about distance management. There's so much more than just trying to push a time.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, like having active rest is important.
Yeah, for sure.
Because your body needs that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think definitely across like basically, all sports, whether it's martial arts or, running and stuff like that. One thing that's for sure is that you can't go all out every single training session. There's this quote that I read from he's a professional Ironman triathlete, and he posted on Instagram the other day. He's just like, January heroes make October zeros, because October is like when Kona is. And it's true, because like if you're just going all out in January, your body's going to break down by the time the season even hits. So, especially in endurance sports, it just doesn't work like that. You got to be consistent and, obviously maintain your fitness, but, don't overdo it right out of the gate. So I think that's interesting. In terms of book of the day, and we'll come to the end of this podcast, book of the day, do you have any book recommendations?
Yeah, I've got two. My first one is actually one that I haven't finished.
Okay.
But it's that good.
Yeah.
Shoe Dog, Phil Knight.
Okay. Cool.
Have you read this one?
That's the Nike one, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it. No, but I need to. I have it on my list.
You have to read that. If I would push that up your list a little bit, I would.
Okay, cool.
It's such a phenomenal book. I was recommended Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, and they had said it was the only book that they read cover to cover on one sitting.
Oh wow.
And I was like, whoa, like it says a lot about
Yeah,
a
yeah.
book if you can sit down and finish it cover to cover in one sitting. Like he didn't sleep all night,
That's crazy.
right? Like he started in the evening and didn't sleep because it was one of those books you just couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
um I picked it up. I ended up being like that, but I
Yeah.
had to put it down and never picked it back up. But the impact that it made on me so far is phenomenal.
Great.
Phenomenal.
I'll check that
Um,
out.
yeah, Shoe Dog Phil Knight. Actually, man, I've got two other ones.
Okay. No, it's all good. Book
Man, it's
recommendations are great.
um, the other one, the one that I had on my mind, was The Obstacles the Way by Ryan
Okay.
Holiday.
Yeah. That's great.
You familiar with Ryan Holiday?
I love that guy. I met him at a
No
conference.
way!
Yeah, I met him
Wow.
at a conference a few years ago, and I got him to sign a bookmark. I'm just like, Brian, I love you. I just love you so much. Yeah, I love his books. He's great. Growth
Yeah.
Hacker Marketing is one of my favorite books of all time.
Mm.
Very good book. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. The obstacle is the way. Is the one book that pushed me over the edge
Okay,
to leave Limitless.
for sure.
Yeah. It was leaving Limitless wasn't an easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the middle of reading Ryan Holiday's book, and there was a lot of things that he said in there that really resonated with me and made me realize that leaving was the right decision for me.
For sure.
Right. And that decision had really changed my life from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like everything sort of turned for the better.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, like I'm obviously extremely grateful for what Limitless has done for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be in the same situation I am now if I was still at Limitless. Like there was a lot of, in terms of timing, even
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that have fallen into my favor.
Yeah.
By leaving Limitless.
Sure.
That might just be coincidence. Like if I was still at Limitless now and the pandemic hit, my finances would have been really,
Impacted.
tight.
Yeah, for sure.
I might not have been able to afford my house.
Yeah, for sure.
The decision to have a kid would have been, severely postponed.
For sure.
And so, that might have just been coincidence. That probably is coincidence.
Yeah.
But even just starting my own school,
Mm-hmm.
starting my own brand, getting into flexibility and all that kind of stuff now, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't taken care of myself to pursue what I
For sure.
wanted to do at the end of the day.
Yeah. And a lot of times the hardest decisions are often the most important decisions, right? And you may like think, oh, am I doing the right thing? But a lot of times that stuff just works out. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're making the decision for the right reason, I find a lot of times that stuff works out, and everything will come together eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually.
Yeah. So my last book recommendation is one of the latest ones that I finished reading was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, dude, that is my favorite book of all time.
Love that one.
Oh,
Man.
that is the best. How much did you enjoy that book?
I really enjoyed it, and the reason why is because I resonated well with a lot of what he's experienced in terms of mental fortitude,
For sure.
and unfortunate events. Now, granted, like he's had a way worse life than I had.
Yeah.
Like way worse, right?
Sure.
With death and family, his wife leaving, all that kind of stuff, and even just going to the military as a Navy SEAL and whatnot. And the training is absolutely brutal and intense. And one of the reasons why I love the book in particular is the way that he wrote the book. It's really visual.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when you're reading it almost feels like you're there.
Yeah.
When he's talking about his runs on some of his trails.
Yeah.
The ultra marathons, like you could imagine him there, and the one guy running past him, and he's like, he can't see him anymore, and then his feet are blistering. He's doing the pull-up world record, and his hands are blistering. He had to go to the hospital. Like it's so visual, and you can see it, right? And he writes it in a way where you can empathize.
Yeah.
But I resonate so well with it because I'm huge on the psyche, right?
For
Like
sure.
mental fortitude, mental toughness. Um, I'm really, really big on that.
Yeah,
And he's really captured the essence of perseverance
absolutely.
so well.
Yeah.
And it was quite the inspiring book. Like every time I put down the book, I'm like, I gotta go down and like
Yeah, he's
try to
so
do
good.
like 1,000 pull-ups.
Yeah, he's the best. Like honestly, just even following his Instagram page is just like it's the best. It just yeah, that's my favorite book of all time. I can't
Yeah,
recommend that one enough. That one's just it's a game changer. He's just a different breed of human being, but like
yeah,
it forces you like to work harder. Just like get to work. Just get to work.
yep.
I even have one of his quotes in my pain cave in the basement. It's you don't know me, son. Have you ever seen that one where he's doing the
Mm,
weights? Look it up on YouTube. Just type in David Goggins, like you don't know me, son. And it's just him
okay.
doing weights. It's him doing like, the final reps. And they've been doing like him and Cameron Haynes have been doing, weights all day. And,
Mm,
they're coming down to like set whatever, like 20. And it's just like of these crazy weights. And he's just starts yelling. He's like, you don't know me, son.
love
Who's
it.
going to carry the boat? He's so intense. I
Hey.
love it. I love it. It's the best. You should watch it. It's like
All
a
right.
2-minute video. It's worth your time.
All right. No, I'll do that right away.
Yeah, it's so good. But
That's
yeah, those
funny.
are great books. I love that. And I think these books help like sort of shape our lives, and it's important to read and learn from these people. Whether it's David Goggins or Ryan Holiday, they just got such great perspectives on life, and I think they're important. So that's
Mhm.
great. Thank you. App of the day. Do you have an app recommendation?
Yeah, it's actually the app. Hang on. Okay. The app is called Down Dog.
Okay.
It's a yoga app.
Okay. Cool.
It's very simple, but it's well put together. Um, I use that for my yoga sessions. It's
Okay.
quick. You can set it up how you want in terms of what type of yoga you want to do.
Great.
They have it's a freemium model.
Okay.
So there's obviously the free option, but you can also pay.
Okay.
But I found the freemium model quite helpful already. Some people have said that a lot of it can be very repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
but to be honest, like a little bit of self-discipline
Yeah.
can just get you past that, right? Like
For sure.
for me, it's about being functional about it. So I have a bit of a back issue, so I deal with sciatica.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kid you not, I did my fourth day into doing it, like my back issue was like gone.
For
It was
sure.
like
Yeah.
magic, and I've done a lot of stuff to try to help fix my some of the symptoms that I've experienced with my sciatica,
Yeah.
like trigger point, rolling, and all that kind of stuff,
For sure.
massage, backward bends, but like just 4 days of doing 15 minutes of yoga.
Yeah.
Like I was doing, you know what a pike position is?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I was doing like hands, palms on the floor, pike position. I was like,
Wow.
I haven't been able to do this for like 3-4 years,
Wow.
even
That's
longer,
crazy. Wow.
right? And 15 minutes, 4 sessions of 15 minutes had
Help
done the
it out.
trick. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's incredible. So Down Dog
Down
is
dog.
what the app is called.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And an app that's totally catered to yoga is also good. And then that way they probably have some pretty good sessions. So
Mhm.
I know like many like fitness apps, they do have like, yoga and stuff like that, but some of the stuff is basic. But I find also that like if it's like a niche app, like yoga app, you're gonna get some pretty good sessions and some versatile sessions. So that's great.
Yeah. You know what? My advice to anybody who's looking to get into stuff like this, I know you were asking about like learning a new skill and how to
Mhm.
go about that and whatnot. But in terms of something like, let's say yoga, or you're looking to get into something very specific,
Mhm.
um, Reddit can be your best friend.
For sure.
Yeah. Like I found this app through Reddit.
Oh,
So
okay,
I
cool.
I literally Googled like yoga app Reddit,
Okay.
click on the first link, and I see what the top comment is,
Awesome.
right? Um, and that's sort of just how I go about it, because with a community like Reddit, you have a
Mhm.
lot of people. It's all it's all community based. So you get a lot of people who have so many different experiences.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it's an easy way to sort of test run an app without
sure.
actually downloading a whole bunch of apps and testing it yourself. You go on a platform like Reddit, you let them do the work for you,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And if you don't like, for let's say, the down dog, go to the second comment.
Yeah, just try
If
it
you
out.
like
Yeah,
that one, you know what I
for
mean?
sure.
It's all trial and error, but like you go to top comments, top comments is typically the people who like the comment where most people agree with.
Yeah,
So that's how I did it.
that's great.
And it's, you know, in my opinion, being resourceful is the one of the best skills
Yeah,
that you could acquire, and you know, Reddit was the way that I found this one.
for sure. Yeah, consumer recommendations are always the best because people have had an experience with them. They'll tell you what their experience was. Was it a positive? Was it a negative? And go based on that. So you don't even have to really try it sometimes. If somebody said that it was the worst experience ever, a lot of people probably have a similar experience, right?
Yeah.
And you know, especially Reddit, it's a very interesting community, whether you're trying to go to the moon with GameStop or you're trying to learn about apps. It's always good. Yeah, Reddit is very interesting. So what we'll do is, because we're at the end of the podcast, you know, this is not the Joe Rogan experience where we talk for 8 hours. But we'll come to the end of the podcast. And what we do at the very end of the podcast is before we do this, actually, do you have anything that you want to promote? What's your social media pages and stuff like that?
Just straight up Trans Taekwondo, Trans Taekwondo, Taekwondo. Just one word, no
Great.
special characters or cases, on Instagram.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes and everything. But for the last thing that we always do is a question of the day. So this is just a question that people can just ponder while they're, you know, in the shower or doing whatever they're doing. So this can be literally anything. People have asked, you know, literally anything. Like, what is your daily habit? What's your goal for the next year? It could be anything, or it could be, what's your favorite color? You can think about it for a second.
My question.
Yeah, just for people listening.
Okay. Okay. My question is, why wait?
Why wait? I love it. That's perfect. That's perfect. We'll end on that. Thank you, Wayne, for coming on. I appreciate it. Or Kang, as I know you. I love it. Thank you for coming on. It's been great to talk to you, catch up. You know, and I look forward to watching your journey, and, you know, maybe I will become a little bit more flexible too. That will be my goal.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, we will catch you all on the flip flop. And yeah, stay tuned for next week's episode. Peace out.